Absolutely. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
As you said a second ago, we just finished a Kickstarter. So I thought maybe I could just start with the Kickstarter, and that's like our most expensive condensed 2 minutes we could possibly put together. So, and then after that, I'll just share a little bit more about it and probably go into some questions and follow up.
For most of us, there are countless times in a single day where we feel nervous, anxious, or not our best. Sometimes even the subtlest moments can have our body reacting with fight or flight, and we don't even realize that it's happening. Hi, I'm Rowan.
And I'm Nathaniel, and we are the creators of Lief.
The Lief is a smart patch that helps you control your natural response to stress. Using patent-pending biorhythm technology, the Lief continuously monitors your heart and breath in real time.
When the Lief notices you're imbalanced, it uses gentle vibrations to guide your breathing.
This product is built on over 20 years of evidence-based research in heart rate variability biofeedback. This simple technique teaches you to reduce your stress response by breathing in tune with your heart's natural rhythm. Our team has completely reimagined this technique for the way that we live life now.
The Lief provides my patients a tool they'll actually use once they leave the office. They simply put it on their chest in the morning and set it and forget it.
You can have this perfect environment when you're at home, but when you leave the house, it's kind of like you're going into battle with the world and you have no idea what's going to be coming at you. Bringing in this little device, it's amplifying your body and empowering you to then take action, reset.
Biofeedback is basically the superpower that allows you to control things about your body that you thought were totally unconscious.
Think about training your bicep at different times to create more muscle. You can train to have more resiliency in your nervous system by doing this throughout the day.
Unlike other wearables, the Lief uses a medical-grade heart rate sensor that's over 200 times more accurate than a wrist-worn heart rate monitor. We removed the strap and went with stickers so that you don't feel restricted and you forget you're even wearing it. With up to 7-day battery life and continuous HRV monitoring and training, the Lief is listening to your heart every day and coaching you along the way.
And we've actually heard from users that this is like meditation with training wheels. We've gone through many iterations to find the right ergonomic shape, making it flexible so that when you put it on, it fits any body type.
We've tested the Lief with everyone from high-powered CEOs to monks living in the Himalayan mountains. And for the last 2 years, we've been working with Stanford and UCSF clinicians to make a tool that really works. We're really excited to get this into your hands. Our early users love it, and our manufacturing and supply chain is all set up.
But we can't do it without your support. So thank you for checking out our project and backing us.
We can't wait for you to experience Lief.
Okay, perfect. All right, so that's kind of the the super condensed introduction. There's so many people in this audience I'm recognizing slowly. Yeah, we've spent about almost 3 years working on this. I've been on the team for about 1.5 years. And this entire technology is based on measuring heart rate variability through an ECG sensor, which I have right here. So this is one of the prototypes. And essentially, as you saw in the video, you wear it on your body. And this is accentuating natural rhythms of your heart. And
can we pass that around? Is that
absolutely,
okay?
Absolutely. Basically emphasizing your natural reaction to things. So, I mean, a lot of what this is paying attention to is your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. When your body starts to react and you go into a fight or flight response, you have a complex series of things going on in your body, and one of them is a reduction in heart rate variability. So by continuously monitoring it, we notice when your body is physically reacting, and then we've developed a way to interact with you that's pretty much invisible. I think a lot of what happens is we live in our heads. We're exposed to things, different traumas, PTSD, things that cause anxiety, And as soon as we see that, it reinforces that and reinforces those ideas, it reinforces the chemicals in our body. If we can actually get notified of that in real time and actually have an intervention like learning to breathe or giving yourself a little bit of space to make a different, slightly decision. Like, wait, this is not life-threatening. Wait, I have a different alternative thinking I can do in this moment. So it's really arming the user with a lot more choices and a method of breathing that's actually shown to increase heart rate variability and relax the body. So we've been working on small pilots for the last year, with different clinicians from UCSF and Stanford. And now that we just finished Kickstarter, we are preparing and working with some manufacturing partners. So that's kind of our next big step. Any questions so far? Yeah.
You showed the apps. Do you have any screenshots of the app? No.
Yep.
You can usually hear me from space. Do you have any screenshots of the companion app? I know it obviously gives you direct biofeedback, but I know you also have an app.
Yeah. And the app is kind of an interesting thing. So I come from a UX background in designing, and I did behavioral health apps before this. And some of the limitations we found were, we can't tell exactly what's going on, but we can tell what's going on based on how you self-report. And self-reporting is pretty difficult. It turns out that we don't always know exactly what we're feeling. And interacting with people through push notifications is hard. As soon as you enter that realm, you are competing with a lot of other things on a device. So we really kind of pride ourselves on this idea of invisible interface. An interface that's interacting with you through somatically, so that you are actually paying more attention to your body. And through this biofeedback, through these little short exercises that are 3 minutes long, they teach you to basically breathe with the rhythm of your heart, or pay attention to your heartbeat. And because you're feeling that in real time, it's kind of like this invisible interface that nobody else has to see, but you can actually work on it. So anyway, I have to say that, as an interface designer, it was like the last thing I wanted to do was to build this interface. Because that is one of the things that pulls us out of our body, right? Is looking at things and needing to analyze and try to make sense of charts and graphs. If you actually put a signal very close to the heart that's beating to your heart, if you take this device off, you still have that somatic awareness, and maybe your heart, which is always an accessible tool, maybe you'll actually notice it a little bit more. Maybe you'll actually notice it speeding up and say, okay, my body's reacting. How do I prevent myself from getting, like a very narrow-minded thinking pattern actually become spacious and open? But let's see. I did. There we go. I did bring a few slides to show. So this is some examples of the interface of the app. We really emphasize under here exercise, doing a biofeedback exercise. So basically you can set up a time, whether you're doing a meditation or sitting and doing something like paying attention to your heartbeat. You can set up a timer, so say 10 minutes, and then it shows you your original heart rate variability, HRV, and then where you are currently and how much it's changed. So this gives you a sense of progress, kind of what you're doing, a little bit of gamification. A huge component is actually the psychological piece. So we worked with psychologists doing cognitive behavioral therapy techniques because as much as you want to work on your body, a lot of it is understanding your thinking patterns, beliefs, emotions. So as much as you are willing to connect those and write those down, and we connect that with your physiology, there's like this really beautiful picture that starts to emerge. Understanding that this particular zone, when my heart looks like this, it's actually associated with this type of motion. And then this screen right here is more of like the daily view that you'd see. This is showing your heart rate, and then these are showing the amount of time you were in different zones. So a calm zone, a tense zone, active, and then just showing practice. So, the idea is if you practice more, then your heart rate increases, your calm increases, the tensing decreases.
On that.
Oh, yeah, just go for this video. Yeah.
On that note, research shows that any kind of training on an autonomic response that you make conscious helps you for all of them, building that muscle. Will I be able to use this to learn to, as Mikey was saying, speed up and slow down my heart rate? It will be conscious of my heart rate and control it. Will this do that?
Yeah.
How does it do it?
Yeah, it will. It will. So a lot of it is, this is based on the principle of self-regulation. So there are a couple of different exercises you can do. One of them is called control, which is basically feeding back your heartbeat through a vibration. And then you are exercising consciously, speeding it up and slowing it down. And then after doing that, you get a score. But the one that we use the most is what we call downtime, which is learning to breathe with the natural rhythm of your heart, which is the thing that increases, kind of jump starts your heart rate variability.
I've tried this thing personally, and it's just like, sometimes I'll speed up my breathing, and my heart rate just reacts naturally. And but I get to actually feel it with the vibrations. I thought it was actually really interesting. I love to see you guys here, and I feel like there's just such a huge brain trust in the room. So I'm very curious as to what are your greatest challenges right now? And it's like if you had the magic wand and you could ask for anything. There's so many skills in the room. What would you want answered? Or it could be technical, it could be strategic. What are some of the things that you guys are struggling with? There's so much talent in this room that if you could ask, that they would respond.
Yeah. Just want to take that in for a second. I can feel it. I would say right now we're at an inflection point. We've been able to prove out our prototype, and we're starting to max out probably our talents in a couple of things as we move past this Kickstarter, and we have about 1,900 backers, and we're looking to ship this summer. So we're starting to go into manufacturing. We're starting to go into some larger pilots. I think people with experience in managing pilots and people that have clinics, any sort of relationships that we can sort of stand on the shoulders of others that have done this before would be really helpful. I know that we're also expanding our team and looking for talent and people interested, so iOS talent and some people to help us with some of the data science. But those are the first things that come to mind. Yeah.
So this looks like really good work. I imagine that there's a bit of artistry and design to how you take a heart rate and make it into it's a vibration, and also one that helps you guide it. I'm wondering if you could talk to that, how the mapping's done.
Sure, yeah. It is really interesting. We've gone through so many iterations. The haptics on the body it's pretty blunt, and it's kind of hard for the body to understand. So we went through iterations exploring how much we could communicate haptically through people. One of the things we discovered very quickly is no matter what it is, the first time you interact for that first half second, it's just getting the brain into the body. So there's almost this initial blunt, just hey, I'm about to tell you something, hey, over here. But what we discovered is, if you can make it very, very simple and think of it as a increase in intensity and duration, those are basically the simplest ways to do it. And if you try to put in more than 2 bits of information into any haptic pattern, it's really hard to tell. So we had different ways of interacting to sort of nudge, and that's like a zzz, zzz. And what we found is, after I've used it a little while, zzz, zzz is very clear to me, but to other people it just felt like a zzz, and it takes a little bit of while. So there's almost this somatic intelligence that has to come with it, and you really have to understand that where people are starting. One of the interesting things about this is some of the exercises. It was just sitting down with people, having them feel their heartbeat for the first time. They had this look on their face, like they had just reclaimed part of their body, and it was like this really beautiful, like, oh my God, I can feel it. Wow, yeah. And so it was always this like, oh hey, you found a friend. Let's let you sit with that for a second. But some of the what we call downtime, which is exhaling with the deceleration of your heart. What we found is people sitting down, they would learn very quickly a breathing technique that was right for their body, because if you're breathing and you're breathing a high, or you're overexpanding your chest, or you're taking a really shallow breath up in your chest, your heart will slow down, and then it'll speed back up, and it'll be kind of this bumpy thing. So we found, and this was just testing some people at some conferences, that we would tell people, breathe a real diaphragmatic belly breath, and just try filling in halfway, and then slowly exhaling, and all of a sudden they would get this very smooth deceleration of the heart. So it was like really beautiful to see people internalize the haptic as guiding signals of what and how their body was working, and then in real time learn how to use it and improve their breathing and their understanding of their body. So that's really our goal is, we want a signal that is not interrupting anybody. Right now it's actually beating to my heart. I'm wearing one right now. I can tell it's going fast, so I'm trying to slow it down. But this is an amplification of my heart that I get to carry, and it is extending my senses. David.
So a lot of performers, when they get ready to do a public presentation like you've just done, they anticipate and expect being afraid and anxious and nervous, and then they use it constructively. And of course, zebras do need to run away from lions full tilt and shut down the GI tract, and the fight or flight is there for a reason. I'm wondering, in your preliminary exploration of this, are you seeing a more constructive use of the stress response? Because it seems like the presumption of the product is, you're probably freaked out, this will help you calm down and be generally more mindful. But I'm wondering if it can help you hit that gas pedal when you really want to.
That's great, David, and that's exactly it. Stress is not all bad. There's distress and eustress, right? And it does keep us alive, and it's keep us surviving. I think it's really our relationship to the fight or flight response, and when it feels like we have no control over it, that's what really makes us anxious. And actually kind of ramping yourself up does put you into a state of, hyper awareness and focus, and it can be really useful. So it's empowering people to be in control of that. We think of it as trying to get into a particular zone. And I think a lot of people that are predominantly in the suffering area are the ones that have no control over it, and anxieties can be debilitating. So learning to control that and sort of befriend it and understand and be able to prevent it. There's one thing about recovering in real time. So I'm starting to get anxious, it starts to vibrate, I can breathe with it. But I think the real aim of this product is to get ahead of that curve. It's really about training. It's about putting in a few minutes every day so you just have a more resilient heart that's less likely to easily get knocked off, by certain thoughts and so on. But, I would say I could calm myself down before this, but more of what I did was I breathed and I was just kind of empowering myself, because I know I'm going to be, my heart's not going to be 50 beats per minute while I'm talking to you guys. But what I can do is anchor my mind to my body and prevent any rumination and fears coming up. So I can just say, okay, this is my heart, this is where it's going to be, but I'm going to get into my body so that I'm not, sort of knocked over. All the way in the back.
So really interested in your product. Thanks for coming. So you're giving this physical feedback to me about something that's already physically going on. So you've talked a lot about the heart. Are you giving the feedback of my heartbeat and the heart rate variability, or one or the other, or what about those two?
Yeah, so we're collecting both signals. Heart rate variability is really what we're focusing on. So there are a couple of modes. One is just feeding back your heartbeat. The downtime, which is measuring heart rate variability, is really looking at the natural deceleration. So, a healthy heart is very dynamic. A healthy heart is responsive, and all the systems are running, and it can turn things off and turn things on at will. When the heart starts to go into a fight or flight response, or it gets stressed, it becomes very regimented. So what we're doing is we're measuring that variation and giving a score just based on HRV. But the biofeedback, which we're calling downtime, is breathing with the deceleration and trying to make that longer and stronger. So if you imagine every breath cycle, your heart's going to speed up and slow down. And when the heart is stressed, the slowdown is very slow and jittery. It's like, but if you can smooth it out and elongate that, and you can do that just by slowing down your breathing, dragging your breath out, and syncing it up so it's overlapping with the natural deceleration. So that's the biofeedback with HRV.
And the HRV comes through the phone?
You can see it in real time.
Yeah, so that's not haptic then?
No, HRV is on the body. Oh. You can see it on the phone, and you can feel it on your chest if you're in a mode that's feeding back HRV. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got time for one last question. I think Daniel's been for a while.
Okay.
I've done a lot of heartbeat meditation, and I've found that the heartbeat variability in one place and in different places changes. So like in one arm, I'll feel the heartbeat at a certain interval from my chest, and in the other arm it's different, and on different days it'll be different between those. So it's just an area of interest that you might look into, and I don't know why, so maybe you could look into figuring out why.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you mean you can just feel your pulse at different times?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things we did discover is we thought for a long time that there was a lag in the processing of this device. So we thought, we're computing it, and then we're trying to give a vibration right back, and in fact, it feels a little bit slower because we would have our fingers on our arm. And what we discovered is it was actually ahead of the blood pulsing through to our wrist. So suddenly we had this delay that anyone that's really in tune with their body, it's a little disjointing because you're like, why is this vibrating now, but I can feel it at my fingertips? So it's like one of those really interesting problems to kind of come up with, and that just kind of reminded me of that, is like, how do you calibrate? Because wherever you dominantly feel your heart rate, you really want this to be synced up with it, so that you can take this off, and it's just really amplifying that.
What about different locations? Because I wonder if it's hypertension or something. Why is it traveling through my body at different rates?
Yeah.
And could you figure out something about constriction and dilation, or more feedback to play with?
Yeah. Super interesting. Super interesting. I'll look into it.
Cool. Well, I think that's going to be it for Lief. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys.